Hello everyone, this is Cecilia signing in and welcome to my channel. Today we will be making a reversible drawstring bag, and now I'm going to show you all the nice features about this bag. So let's go to the bottom corners. You will see that they're boxed corners. It's quite lovely actually, a nice box corner. And it'll hold a lot more and it stands. Then I'm also going to show you that because we have drawstrings on either end, it really closes very smoothly. Now, the next feature about this bag is that it's not only lined, but it's reversible. So there are no raw edges and both sides are just as pretty. See, box corners on this side. So because you are making a reversible bag, you can use either side, and so you want both sides to have nice patterns. So for today's project, as I said, I'm making a big bag, and you can make a smaller bag if you want to, but I'm making it for baby clothes and it needs to be fairly large. I've got two pieces. They're similar sizes and they are 22 inches by 46 inches. You would put the two right sides together. Without further ado, let's start. Clip the top and the bottom as well as the sides. Make sure that everything aligns, and you're going to be sewing only the top and the bottom, so the two short edges, and we are going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Back stitch, so you secure your stitches when you start and back stitch when you end. So now we have sewn the two short edges, as you can see. So these are the two seams, and you want for the seams to meet in the middle so that there won't be bulk in the middle. You push one seam line to the right and the other seam line to the left, just like this. The seams all align. Okay, so we've clipped them together. Straighten out your fabric, and now what's most important is just the middle part of the fabric. Don't worry about the other bits. Okay, they will sort themselves. So you just fold them, and you're going to just focus at the seam line. So you can see that the two seam lines, there's one here and one here. You can see that? You want them to meet, right? So they meet in the middle. And you put your clip there, and now you measure. From that middle point, and that's here. Okay, so you measure 1 inch and then 1 inch, and then on this side again 1 inch and 1 inch. So you're going to sew from here right there. Okay, you're going to sew 1 inch from either side of the seam, and then on the next inch you are not going to sew, so mark it with a cross. You're not going to sew there, and again you mark here with a cross because you're not going to sew, and then you'll continue sewing right to the bottom on either side. And you'll do this for the other side as well, the top and the bottom. 1 inch and 1 inch. 1 inch, 1 inch. Basically, you're just leaving a 1 inch gap. That's all. That's for the cord casing. I'll be using this as sort of my lining piece, so my turning gap will be on this piece. And so you don't forget to leave that unsewn. You measure 4 inches. Here, and then you leave that unsewn as well, marked across. And sometimes when you're sewing you can't really tell, so you might want to just put additional pins there so that you remember not to sew. And Again, to remember not to sew in this 1 inch, you might put a clip there. So you remember, oh, I'm not going to sew there. And then you put your clips on either side and you would sew where the clips are. Basically, it's just straight lines from now, the top and the bottom. Okay, so we start from the seam and we'll sew across. You don't have to remove, you just lift your needle and skip the 1 inch mark, and then you put your needle down again and you continue. And because I have my clip here, I remember my turning gap. So I'm going to back stitch, press it up, go across the 4 inches, not sew the 4 inches, and then needle down again, foot presser down, sew with a back stitch. So I've sewn the edges on both sides right across. I left a turning gap, and then I've also left the gaps here, the 1 inch gaps. So that's for the drawstring. If you're happy with your bag to end with this kind of edge at the bottom, you don't have to do anything else now except insert the drawstring. But if you like to have a boxed corner, so it sits nicely, especially if you want to look pretty. So the easiest way to get your box corner would be to just draw 2 inches in on either side. So you're having both done at the same time, the bottom of the bag. So another 2 inches, and you do the 2 inches from the seam line. So, all right, so 2 inches from the seam line. Okay, and then you cut it. And you're cutting all the pieces of fabric. And then you would put these 2 pieces together, open up the seam, finger press the seam, and then join the edges. Let's just sew them 1/4 inch seam allowance and straight across. I'll stitch across 1/4 inch on each of the bottom edges of both pieces of fabric. This will give us a box when we turn it around. Now, for the moment of truth, let's turn it around. So you put your hand in, reach out, and you just pull out the outer fabric. I'm going to use the machine to close up the gap. I do not like to hand stitch, but if you want really neat sides and you don't want your stitches to show, go ahead, hand stitch. I've closed up the gap. Now you need to do a little bit more stitching, but this gives you an idea of the bag, and you can see the box edging. It's quite nice. Now what I'm going to do is, I like to see the tops very neat, so I'm going to iron, and then I'm going to do a top stitch. Then I'm going to sew 2 lines, 1 inch on top and then another inch for the drawstring. So I've sewn 3 stitch lines right on the top, and then at the 1 inch line, and then the second 1 inch line to create the tunnel for the cord casing. You can stop the cord casing from fraying, and that's just to burn the edges. And you just burn the edges and it would stop the cord from fraying. Now you're going to insert the cord into the tunnel. So wherever you start, you end. Just tie the two pieces of cord together, and one drawstring is done. And the drawstring bag is done.